Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to our global listeners. Welcome to the Gems of Life show. This is live in studio. We are coming to you live in studio, Love Bay, Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. Happy Monday, everyone. Yes, we're always here coming live to you every Monday at 7 p.m. And I am so excited for this week episode. Let me tell you, I'm not even gonna waste time. I'm gonna introduce our next guest. All right. So wherever you are, sit down, get your cup of tea. I just opened my fast, so I still have my water that I'm nourishing myself with. Okay, so happy Ramadan actually to our global Muslims fasting globally, everywhere you are. I would say to you, Ramadan Mubarak. May this month be blessed upon you and your families and to the entire community in our global community as well. All right, so Love Bay family, Ramadan Mubarak if you're fasting. All right, so let's kick off with this week's episode. We're still continuing with the theme of International Women's Day coming up March 8th. Can you believe that? It's actually this coming Saturday. And I'll share more information on where you can get your tickets as well if you haven't. So last week we had amazing, phenomenal women who joined us here and they shared, what it's like to be a woman, some of the challenges and then the strides that women have made over the years. So this week I want to continue on with the same theme. Accelerate the change. And that's this year's theme for International Women's Day. All right. So I have a very special guest who also happens to be a very good friend of mine. We've done amazing workshops together. This is not a person to me, not a stranger, not somebody that I just met today. This is somebody that we have done amazing work today. And I know her personally, how passionate she is in terms of the work that she does, because I saw it while we did things together. So I want to introduce you to a very special individual, phenomenal woman. Okay, her name is Alethia Cadore. And I am excited to just introduce her and bring her to the show. Alethia, welcome. And I'm going to share a little bit about who
Hi, good evening.
welcome. Yeah, I'm so excited that you're here. But, I want to actually just share a little bit about you so people know who you are. So Alethia Cadore is innovative, a wellness-oriented child youth care practitioner, registered therapist, and mental wellness advocate. Oof. She's a member of Ontario Association Child Youth Counselors and CRPO registered. She's also a psychotherapist of Ontario as well. She is a board member of the Ontario Society Registered Psychotherapist. Like, we talk about women wearing many hats. Great role model here, showing us that we do wear many hats. Alethia is also the recipient of the Raymond Chang Volunteer Award, mentoring Black students of color, and in the Tree Mentoring Program back in 2022. She also identified herself as a wellness practitioner in a private practice that supports Black communities and people of color heal from stress and trauma by implementing mindfulness and CBT to reframe their thoughts and heal also our community. And her focus is education, mental health, wellness, mentoring, and decolonization. I mean, everything you've talked about, I'm very passionate about. Alethia's experience extends to EAP, which is executive coaching, and she also created courses on mindfulness, resilience, self-care, supporting, and executives to lead with empathy. Love what you do. I'm one of your biggest fans as well. I know we've worked together. So Alethia, welcome to the Gems of Life right here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. And I want to just say Ramadan Mubarak to all of your listeners that are celebrating tonight. And also, I want to say thank you for inviting me on.
You are welcome. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. We've done this kind of stuff outside of, the radio, and it's been phenomenal to just have you and just having a conversation and just talking about things that we both really we care about, right? And I think that's the alignment that we've had over the years, that we have something that we really care about, and we talk about it, and not just talk about it, we want to make a difference. So I'm just happy and excited to be here and to pick up some nuggets from you as well. So when we look
Well,
at,
great. We can.
yeah, so Alethea, I mean, as a woman, right? You yourself as a woman, when we look at the theme, accelerate the change, what does that mean to you personally, on a personal level and on a professional level?
Great question. And I was thinking about it before we came on air. And I was looking at two things. So, accelerating change or accelerating the change means to me, looking at the latest advancements in technology, in people movement, in terms of how we manage people and how people manage their day-to-day lives, and
Mhm.
also how we are integrating some of these new ideas into how we do business today. And
Mhm.
we would be able to see that when you integrate new technology, new systems, and new ideas, that things sometimes grow at a more rapid pace when you include diversity.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay.
So, I was looking at it two ways, um, technology and advancement, and also I'm in the business of supporting people through challenges. So,
Yes.
part of my views would be on how we can support people to get through some of those major challenges, or how to help them update themselves or familiarize themselves with the
Mhm.
new technology, because we know that advancement of people to learn these things takes time. And I want to be there to support them to adjust to new things and new challenges.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, right? I mean, change is inevitable, right? Change is inevitable. As we grow, things change. Even when it comes to technology, think about years ago to where we are today, right?
Mhm.
And it scares a lot of people. So it's nice to know that, there's people like yourself who's out there helping individuals, um, shift a different kind of mindset, basically, and prepare themselves to not only grow but actually be open enough and be curious enough to open themselves to growth and change. So when you talk about technology, right, I know AI is one of those technologies. What do you see, especially women, how do you see women using this new technology, because it's an innovative way of doing things, right, and conducting your business?
Well, I mean, running a business has been really challenging for me, and also eye-opening, because there's some things that I didn't even realize that I needed to be aware of when I'm running a business. Because, when you're going about your day-to-day life and you're actually entering a business, or you're the consumer, you're just looking at the end product, and that's what you want and that's what you get, and then you're out of the store. But we have a lot that we do that's leading up to getting that finished product. So how do you get this thing on the shelves? How do you market it? How do you brand yourself? How do you get yourself out there? What's your target market? All these components have to be put into place before people actually see the finished product. And I don't think they realize, unless you're in the business yourself, of how many steps that have to be in place before you can actually put what you are what you need out there. And I think you would appreciate that process of
Mhm.
having, created an idea, then you had to write out the story, then you formulated it, you got things reviewed, and then you eventually put it out. It's a process. And I think that's only for the people that are actually involved in the technology part of it. Done through automation. And that's something new that we probably didn't even think about before because we had people that were in those positions writing or creating ideas. And now there's so many options and opportunities out there to reduce that amount of manpower, and that's really changed the way that we do business. So I was really interested in automation and how I could reduce some of the amount of time that it was taking me to, manage certain things of my business. And I realized that when I replaced it with some automation, it just makes things a little bit smoother.
Yeah. And it takes away, it gives you the time back, right? But it takes away all that work that you're putting it in because there's a system there in place to help you, to help the process flow in a way that, it gives you back,
Exactly.
right?
And I'm not
Yeah.
saying, yeah.
Yes. Mm.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if we're
You
lagging, if
still
it's on
need
my
someone
end,
to
because
monitor that system.
yeah,
However,
yeah,
I just
yeah.
realized how much time is reduced because you're not,
Mm.
looking at it all the time. There's some things there that you can reduce the efficiency, and that just makes your business run
Mm.
um, efficiently
Yeah.
in that way.
So, as we are talking, in terms of business and individuals exploring what processes are out there that would help them, right? And specifically for this month, we're really honing into
Mhm.
women, right? Making sure that they get the resources that they need, and the support that they need. What has been in your experience, because you're out there in the community, you're working with different organizations and different individuals, what shift have you seen, by women-led initiatives, organizations, and what do you see? What are the things that are happening on the ground level, right, when it comes to women-led initiatives, and now with the new technology?
Yes, I find that women are quite expansive with their
Mm,
ideas and their own way of marketing their business. And what I've noticed is that there's a lot of partnerships being formed, and people want to collaborate with like minded people, and they're expanding their own ideas with these people and creating more businesses. So I find that women as a collective, when they get together, this is where the magic happens. We're able to be safe in our space and be more vulnerable and talk about some of the challenges. And then I find there's always some solution, something that is created based out of that need of that group. And I find that that's where most of the innovation starts, is when people are able to get together and express themselves, their ideas. And that's where I find the creativity comes from, is the fact that we have our own spaces so that we can talk about what those challenges look like, and then unify in that space and then support one another. I found, and you remember the group that we were in, that people started to do amazingly well after we formed that group, and we really started connecting with each other weekly, and then we put on our webinar. But just those lessons along the way of connecting with one another, of finding out what each one of us do, what our strengths were, and wow, the end product was so amazing and synergistic. I couldn't believe how we came together so well. And all of the topics kind of were fluid within one another. And I just thought, wow, we talked a little bit about what we were going to do, but when it came together, it, wow, it would just blew me away. I was so impressed.
it was. I mean, you just
And
took me
that
back.
made me realize that we can do it.
Yeah.
And I realized from that we could do anything that we put our minds to. And then didn't we all follow through with most of the things that we set out to do? And I find that group just really energized me. And it really made me say, you know what? It's time for me to just, not stay in my niche, but also to grow and expand. And he
Mhm.
ended up creating, a couple more webinars, and my client list grew. So it was really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you just took me back, right? And the power when you bring, amazing phenomenal women. It was just electrifying, to be honest with you. And I still remember when we all were in one space, even though it was virtual, right? And we had people from all over the world who joined in the conversation, and each one of us had a message that was very aligned with the theme of the workshop that we offered. It was like the word that comes up to me right now is electrifying. That's
Yeah.
what it felt like. Just bringing phenomenal women in one space, the energy that I think we fed on each other made a huge, huge difference. Yeah, yeah. So when we look at it, it brings me back to even looking at women in leadership, right? I mean, your role, my role, and the amazing women who are actually out there doing their work. This station here, Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, is also run by a woman, a phenomenal woman, Miss Jantu, and her partner TYB, and they're doing an amazing, amazing work. And I know personally, a phenomenal leader like Miss Janto, who's doing this, opening the platforms for us, right? And for many, many other women who have different shows here on Love Bay. It just goes to show the power we have, right? When we take that stand and we follow through with what we want and follow through with our purpose, it's not just about us anymore. It's about creating spaces for others where they can flourish, they can grow, they can expand. And then the message now is getting to the masses at a higher, higher level. So when we come back to the leadership role as women, in so many different industries here, it's media, we're in coaching, we're in wellness, so many different industries. In your opinion, what are the top three challenges you find that women face in terms of leadership? What are the challenges you think they face, and how can they overcome these challenges?
Leadership. Well, for women of color, it's always about the fact that you want to feel heard and understood. Because depending on the setting that you're in, you might have a leadership role, but your role might be undermined by your team if people are not cohesive. So I always find that that's the first thing they want to know. It's about how do you keep your team intact? One of the strategies that gets people to cooperate and get along, after a period of time. And I talked about the other one, which was I'm losing my train of thought. But okay, let me just regroup. Yeah, just those two things that I could think of was
Hmm.
the
Being heard.
validation
Mhm.
and had the credentials. They're feeling that their place is not respected in the field that they're in. The lack of time. They may be juggling a couple of responsibilities, and sometimes work might take more of a precedent. So they want to be have more work life integration. And then the other one is burnout. So I would say three. I think you asked me for two, but lack of validation, the which is due to not putting up proper boundaries. So people might have a hard time saying no if they want to maintain a certain level and value at the workplace, and you might be overcompensating in that area. And
Yeah.
that leads to more stress and worry and anxiety if you're not able to put firm boundaries.
I mean, I can think about, like, personally, I can think about different areas in my life professionally where I felt that, right? I mean, we can relate to that. I can definitely relate to that, where you're in a place where you're not validated, you're not, the work that you're doing is not acknowledged, right? And then the burnout comes. You don't feel like you can say no. If you say no, you end up risking, being reprimanded for it, right? So what kind of opportunities then, we as women, when we are in this kind of environment and we may be in a
Mm-hmm.
role, right?
Yeah,
And
and that's the
what is it that we can do? What is maybe one or two things that we can do today for the women who are listening today, globally, women leaders listening today? Maybe they may not even recognize this is happening
Mhm.
spaces. What can they do to create that space where people feel heard, right? Validated, appreciated, celebrated, right? Because this is what it's about. It's about this month. It's about remembering that, right? Celebrating the women and creating those spaces where women feel heard, validated, and celebrated. So, what can we do to create those kind of opportunities for women?
Well, there's a couple of things that people can do. And my thing is always to be around people that you already see that are in these positions. It might not be at your workplace, it could be somewhere else. But where can you find people that are already in these leadership roles, that you can get some support from, and then you could reach out to? I find that mentoring is also important. If there's someone that's in a lateral position or the same position, or maybe a senior position, how about reaching out to them and just asking them a couple of questions and let them know, this is what you're looking for. I find that sometimes when we ask, that's when you'll know, who's out there to support you. And they do have places where you can go and practice if you feel like you need to do some remediation, so that you can upgrade your skills if you need to. Other than that, I think it has to be your own decision there in terms of how you want to show up for yourself and what that future
Mhm.
is that, you want in terms of your future decision making. And if this is something that you want to do, then please reach out to people that have already completed maybe that course or they graduated. Reach out to them and ask them how they did it. They might be able to give you some tips which are worthwhile. And from those tips, you can integrate them into your own personal library, and it might be beneficial to you. Maybe you have family members. Maybe all of you can come together and unite, and then you have a standard price for your produce, and you can get those things sold. So there's so many options out there if we could just tap into our creativity. But sometimes we
Mhm.
don't have time because of other commitments that we have. But I'm just encouraging people to just take a pause and just slow down, because there might be something that you're missing that could contribute to you having a better health or a better wealth, or a great, or just do something that's um, joyous to you. But I think for women, there has to be that balance. What are those activities that you do that relieve your stress and help you build resilience so that you can think clearer, make better decisions for yourself? There has to be that balance. And when I'm listening to women and they're in my clinic or I'm meeting with them virtually, they're saying, I'm burnt out and I'm tired and I'm frustrated. And that's because I have so much going on. So I have to ask people to step back and ask yourself, are these things important? Is this your priority? And watch things change.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, that's so critical, right? Especially as women. Earlier I said, we wear many hats, right? And we take it for granted that we can do it. We are super women,
Mhm.
can do this. And there's so many roles that we're fulfilling, whether if you're not a parent, you
Yeah.
have other roles that you're fulfilling. And then on top of that, if you're a parent, then you have the parenthood, role
Hmm.
that you have to fulfill. And if you have a partner, I mean, there's so much things
Yeah.
that we are so involved in. And I believe we have overstretched ourselves so thin. And we have not learned not only to create boundaries where to say no, enough is enough, or I think that's even one problem. But I think to me, the other thing I find is that the lack of clarity, not knowing what is it you want, setting clear
Hmm.
intentions, how you want to spend your time and what you want to do in your life and the results you want to create in your life. And when we don't have clarity,
Yeah.
and we don't have sense of direction, and we don't have sense of purpose, we get lost, right? So it's when we're lost,
Right.
it's very hard to find boundaries, because what are you going to create boundaries on? You only create boundaries when you're clear, when you're
Hmm.
clear on your intentions, you're clear on your
Yeah.
purpose, you're clear on the things
And
you want to do. Go ahead. Yeah.
that's it,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's
So,
the thing.
yeah.
What is it that
So,
helps
Alethea,
people get
yeah,
that clarity? And,
yeah.
a few things that are in your life that are making you anxious, worried, or every
Mhm.
time you open your mouth, it's hard for you to come to terms with releasing words. There's a challenge there.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to address that so you can get the support that you need and, you can function.
Mm. So we, the older selves, our older self versions of us, we're struggling, right? I mean, there's areas that we're doing really
Hmm.
well, there's areas we're struggling. My concern also is the younger generation, right? The young women listening in today, globally, and they feel maybe overwhelmed, um, and be that sense of direction. They maybe have clarity on their goals, but no sense of direction on how they can pursue their goals. How can they create opportunities for themselves? What are the areas where there's less underrepresentation? Because we know women, I'm not even putting race because that's a whole different topic, right? I'm talking about even just generally women speaking. We are underrepresented in so many different areas, right? So, what are the things that, especially the young generation,
Yeah.
how can we
And
help them
that's
fill those gaps?
hmm well, I think it's so good right now to take an assessment of what we already have in our community, and then you can build from there.
Mhm.
Because there's so many hairdressers, there's so many hair salons, but it seems like everybody is getting customers, so you just keep that up. And for me, right now, it's just about partnering up and collaborating. And it seems to be something that's very popular right now. If you have an idea and you want to join with other people that have the same idea, then you can go farther. You're able to understand the person, a person can understand you,
Mhm.
and you're helping build, which is it's just a different perspective than what they could have had before.
Yeah, absolutely. I
So,
like it here. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. Mm. And
So that's something that we also have to be aware of.
yes. Yes. I'm
Mhm.
so we've talked really about women, and and I think we cannot talk about women without bringing in men into the equation, right? Because I know personally that I'm not 100% relying
Yeah.
on men. We need men as allies in things that we do, right? We cannot do this alone as women. So what
Mm.
is it that we can do as women? How can we encourage men to become allies in terms of pushing our agendas forward, in terms of gender equity, in terms of accelerating change, because we're talking about change here. What are the things that we can do to encourage, right, men to be our allies to push our agendas forward?
Well, I think the first thing is creating those spaces where we both can sit in
Mm,
and, listen to one another. I find that depending on what's happening, especially culture wise, there's a lot of things that we do separately as men and as women. And maybe there needs to be another space created for couples or concerned mothers and, whatever title that they can fit in that group and then express themselves and talk about some of their challenges because nobody's perfect. And, if they are committed to themselves and the relationship, then it can go far. I guess it just depends on what their concern is when it comes to the toxicity. Can that even be addressed? But if it's not going to be addressed, then, are you going to be able to handle someone like him always
mm,
being around?
mm,
So that's something that that person would have to think about. But other than that, this is a point of having a collective and having a sisterhood, having people that you can talk to and reach out to. Because, there might be someone in that group that has had a similar experience. Doesn't mean you have to listen to everything word for word, but it's good to just have someone that you can bounce some ideas off and have a different perspective.
mm,
I find that that's where you get a more enriching um, answer or fulfillment to me is when you're able to listen to perspectives. Ultimately, the decision is yours. But wouldn't it be nice just to listen to what other people might think or what they have gone through? It just builds that resilience. And then you start making some decisions that are going to be clear for you, that are going to reaffirm your purpose. And yeah, I just really am appreciative when I do things with a group of women because I find it's not only just for that activity alone, those memories last a lifetime.
mm.
Those are the things that bring me joy, is when I'm able to connect with people and learn something new and then apply it at home and it works. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I was raised by women. I was raised by women, I
Okay.
grew up I was raised by women. I grew up in a household full of women. All right. So the earliest
Okay.
memories, that I have is, my grandma, my aunties. The house was full of women somehow. I don't know. Just growing up, and I really learned how to appreciate the wisdom, right? And just hearing their stories and sitting down next to them. I used to
Mhm.
admire every woman in my household, my aunties. I wanted to be them because I was just like, oh my God, there's no beautiful
Oh,
women
yeah.
than this. There are no smart women than this brilliant smart women growing up, right? And you just, and it's that, right? It's sitting down and listening to women who have gone the distance, right? Who have experienced and have built, I would
Mhm.
say, build the muscles of resilience. And you can sit down and hear the stories. I mean, it's very, it's a whole different setup here right now because we live in a country, especially in the Western countries. It's your community is going to change now. So our community as women is women now because we don't have the elders, we don't have the elderly women, we don't have that upbringing, right? Very few of us,
Yeah.
fortunately. Like my kids, my daughter, she tells me, right? She's like, "Mommy, it's your fault." Because I tell her these stories. I tell her, "Oh my God, I used to sit next to and so, and we'll talk about this, and they'll do this, and we'll." Like the first time I
Mhm.
learned about, I was obsessed with lipstick. Was just looking at my aunts, right? I was just obsessed. To this day, I'm obsessed with lipstick. So I tell my daughter, right? It's a whole different generation. It's unfortunate that I was not able to give them that, right? Because we live in a different country, the setup is very different, and the upbringing is going to be very different. So I think for us, even for me, and even looking at my daughter now, her community, the women communities, her elderly community is going to be, gathering herself amongst people, women who have gone the distance or going the distance, right? So she can be, immersed in that knowledge and wisdom. So that's when you talked about that, I was like, oh my God, we have not
Mhm.
had it, and
Mhm.
for me it's a reminder to really keep that community of women closer than ever. And I'm so grateful that I also have you in my community because I
That's
know,
it.
it's
Mhm.
just a phone call away, a text away, that we're able to sit down and just have a
Mhm.
conversation. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and I think that's pretty much summarizes it. We
Mhm.
talked about accelerating change and what are those advancements that we need to look for that would help women with their growth.
Mhm.
And also, I am in the business of people. So then my thing would be, what are those things that people need to put in place so that they stay mentally well while
Mhm.
they go through their challenges?
Mhm.
And I would be really interested in looking at those activities that
Mhm.
helps women relieve stress and build resilience. So, people want to reach out to me and we can start looking at some of this research. That would be
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. And you talked about mental health, right? I mean, that's an area that we're both very passionate about, in our work that we work with our clients. And it's a growing concern, right? It's a growing concern, mental health for women, especially even in leadership roles. How do you believe women can prioritize their mental health while, striving for success, while striving to pursue their passion and their goals? What is it that they can do so that they can avoid burnout? Since burnout is a challenge and mental health is a challenge,
That's a great
they
question.
can do.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's such a great question. We're all in so many different diverse industries. And for me, the first one is really to protect your time and really look at your schedule. That's the first thing I usually do when I get a job or after, that pay period ends. I'm studying the schedule just to make sure everything that I put in is going to have a good flow or I'm going to have some time off.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And I'm finding that women are finding it a struggle to have
Mhm.
time off.
Yeah.
And you're right, we are juggling so many responsibilities, but are you plugging in your mindfulness time? Are you taking your lunches? Are you fully taking a break? And I worked in a setting where they always encouraged you to take a break. So, I mean, if that's something that we need just to hold ourselves accountable, then yes, let's get someone that's going to call us. Yes, let's get someone that's into, um, those anything like an electronic alarm, whatever it's going to take to get you started and get your day going.
Mhm.
Invest in that.
Yeah.
And then make sure that when you're at home or even if you're doing things throughout the day, that you have a family that watches you take a break. And that's the thing that I find is it's so important because there's so many behaviors that we pass on to our children that we don't even know about, or it's so subconscious that we just think it's just a natural way of doing it until somebody questions you. So, yeah, just take a review of your schedule and your day to day routine. What are those things that are happening right there? Because then that is a big part of your day is doing your core strength.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so
And other than that,
yeah,
there was a little bit of a delay. So
yes,
I was just
yeah. Something is off. It's a little bit
catching
lagging
up.
today. Yeah, the technology is lagging today, so it's
Yeah.
okay. We're patient with it.
Okay.
So, Alethea, I mean, you talked about,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
I just think that it's important.
yeah. So you talked about, setting some routines, right? Especially at work. And funny enough, my last job, I walked in one day and I was going around, doing around lunchtime, and everybody's sitting at their desk eating their lunch, right? It was the first couple of days I'm new and I'm looking, I'm like, why are you guys sitting here at your desk? You have 1 hour. You have 1 hour to get out of your desk and go and eat your food. We have a park outside. You can go for a walk. We have beautiful different places where you can go in and eat. You don't have to sit at
Right.
your desk. I was giving them a hard time. 3 months later, 3 months later, I'm sitting at my desk and
Oh,
I'm eating my
wow.
lunch. 3 months
Three
later, right?
months.
It took me 3 months because before that I was just, I'll get my lunch, I'll go outside, I'll just take my lunch. I wouldn't sit at my desk. I'll go to the, whatever it is that we have to go in. We have different kitchens within different buildings, or even on a nice day I used to go outside in the park. But 3 months later I found myself sitting on my desk and eating, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I am doing what I said I would not do. So
Uh huh.
what, like you said, like you said, putting in a timer, having somebody to come in and get you out of that space so you can go in. And I think we talked about time and putting so many things at once, right? We're multitasking and we're doing taking on so many different roles
Mm,
and responsibilities, and we want to fulfill a task. So we say, I'm going to work through my lunch that 1 hour so I don't stay back another hour after work so I can get home, right? So some that would be their logic, right? It would be like, no, I don't need this hour. I'm going to use it to work, so that I don't stay an hour later, so I can go home
yeah.
after work, right? So what is the impact then on the mental impact and the physical impact
That's really
that
cool.
might have on energy? Because one, it's logic. Yeah, at least I get to leave an hour, not an hour early, but my time when I'm scheduled to leave, so I'm not staying an hour later. What will that do to somebody's physical and mental well-being?
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, flexible your mindset. Um, there's so many options, just like the one that you described. Did you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
yeah. So you have somebody who, like myself, right? Who is like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just take that 1 hour of my lunch and I'm gonna sit and work through my hour of lunch, right? Instead of going away for an hour. Because if I take that hour, I have work to do. And if I'm supposed to be leaving work at 4, it means I'm gonna stay back another hour. Or I need to get this finished because it's due, right? How does one manage, maybe it goes back to managing your workflow and not sacrificing Your lunch, I don't know, like setting up priorities and making sure that your lunchtime is your lunchtime. If you're getting an hour and it's not paid hour, so that's your lunchtime, and making sure that we prioritize our time and take it seriously, and then manage the time when it comes to our workflow. I'm just thinking maybe focus on the workflow, and when you have that together, it does not impact your 1 hour when you're sitting down and enjoying your lunch.
Yeah. But then, when we have people that work past that break, there has to be another mechanism in place
Mhm.
that forces them to go. So,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's what leads to the burnout, right?
it
Is when
does.
you're not able to limit
Mhm.
and manage your schedule. And it could be because you just overscheduled.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that, and for me, that's why it goes back to that 1 hour lunch. It's not something you want to compromise on. So this is where exactly we go back to clarity, right? And and in standing by it and say, you know what, this is 1 hour that it's mine, and this is the time that I can actually sit down and just pause and eat and nourish my body and my soul and my mind and my
Mm-hmm.
mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that when in the next couple of hours I can show
Yeah.
up fully energized,
Yeah.
and my mind, I'm
Or
present,
just
right? I'm able to focus.
exactly. Yeah. You might do your breathing techniques,
Mhm.
your other types of mindfulness. And, when you release some of that energy of negativity, it's just a different feeling. And you feel like, oh, wow, I can overcome these things. So, yeah, it's good to see that
Yeah,
people are really tapping into those senses. It's very important.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I know we keep going back to the mental health, the burnout, and I know it's real. I think one of when we did the workshop together, we did talk about, how important it is for us to pay attention to what's happening in our body, because our body speaks. Our body tells us when it's done, right? I mean, I can attest to that. Burnout. Yeah, I was out for 2 months. I was just
Yeah.
there for 2 months because of burnout. So we don't want to get to that point. So what will be some of the signs
Hmm.
people can begin to recognize they're getting there, and so that they can prevent from actually going to being told you're going to be on a bed rest. That's it. What are the things that they should start
Okay.
looking at? Yeah. Signs of early
Sorry, I
burnout.
just didn't hear the last part. You were chipping out there.
Yeah, signs of a burnout.
Okay. Well, the first thing would be that fear and dread of returning into the same workplace or establishment. It's just when it's something that you're not enjoying, but you still feel that you have to go there.
Mhm.
It becomes really frustrated when there's so many people that could be out there looking for the same work that you are. Some of the supports that are out there for employment, it seems like they're still good, but I've had some reports that people are detecting bias through the
Mhm.
AI system. So it might not be accurate or it might not be helpful for someone with a foreign name because they're automatically going to get rejected. And then um, the other thing is just that mental health support. I'm hearing from women that their benefits and coverage might not be enough, and you might be working in a full time job, but you might only be able to afford one or two visits, which doesn't really give you that much support. It only gives you a short term solution. And then the final one is going to your doctor and you'll get a diagnosis, but then where's the therapist that's attached that can actually do that work? It's rare to find, but I've noticed now that people are getting their accreditation and their they're doing much better. They're thriving. They're trying to integrate more of their balance. They have other family members involved. So, it just varies, I guess, depending on the family that you're with and how well you'll be treated. These are things that women demanding that they have that time just for their own soul needs, emotional needs, and then also time to manage the family. So it's just juggling those responsibilities. It could be very challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just
However,
based
with
on
support and
yeah.
prioritize, this is a lot of the stress and tension that women are going through right now.
Mm, wow. No. You know, Alethea, like just as you're sharing this, and I'm
Yeah, I
thinking
mean,
all the women out there, right, listening, and they feel like, oh my God, it's a lot, right? I just want to invite you to just take a moment and just pause and just breathe. That's it. And sometimes that's all we have to do. Just taking a moment, the power of just even 5-second breathing makes a huge difference. The power of just pausing, the
mhm.
power of just stopping what you're doing and just being present with yourself, right? I mean, one of the rituals that I've started doing, and it has helped me tremendously when it comes to burnout and even my mental health, because there's things, life is going to throw you things on a day-to-day basis, right? It's how do you equip yourself to manage it, to better deal with it, right?
Mm,
That's the whole idea
mhm.
of how do I handle this, right? It's like you're driving a car and a certain, something happens, a car stops in front of you, immediately you know what to do, right? So you do everything you can to avoid impact, sudden impact, right? So it's the same thing with burnout and mental health. Is there's things that we can do, we can put in place, we can equip ourselves with to help us. When that happens, we're able to deal with it in a very positive manner, right? So I think for me, one of the things that I've really has worked for me is the power of pause. I have my morning routine and I have my routine. I don't skip it. So my morning after my prayers, I actually sit down and I just meditate, and then I do my vision meditation, but I also do my breath work. And it just sets my energy for the entire day. It keeps me going for the entire day. So no matter what comes along the way, I am already centered. I'm coming from that place where I'm just like, I am here, I am grounded. So no matter what comes along the way, it's not gonna knock me down. That's how I go day by day, every from morning to evening, and then evening I reset. So I reset the energy, I release the energy that I've picked out through the day because I'm going to meet different people. I'm going to pick up on so many different energies. So at night, what I do is I release myself from that energy, right? Burnout is holding that energy and going to bed with it because now you're thinking about tomorrow. You're thinking about what wasn't done today and you're taking it into tomorrow. What emotions that were not resolved today, you're taking it
Mm,
into tomorrow, right? What workload was not completed today, you're taking it to tomorrow. So you're taking all that energy. So what I do is at the end of day, before I go to bed, I take time to cleanse that energy. And I release myself from that energy
oh, this,
because I'm like, tonight is a new night. I'm going to bed because tomorrow is a brand new day, right? So to our global listeners, do what works for you. This works for me. Let me tell you, it works for me because I go to bed and I sleep really well. All right. So do what you need to do. And I'm bringing Alethea for the next couple of minutes. Well, she's going to share with us some of her own strategies that she has used, or even her clients. And then there's something that she's going to share with you where you're going to get a hold of her, how you can get a hold of her. Alethea, I want to bring you in because I know our tech today has been lagging. So I want to make sure I'm not going to be speaking over you. Come on in. Were you able to hear me,
So
Alethea?
were you waiting for someone?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I thought you were waiting for someone else to come in.
No,
And
I was
I'm
calling you.
so how can I close off the show? Well, we talked a little bit about change and what celebrating change looks like, right? And this is what we do at Minds Alike. We're looking at two different things. We look at research, we look at mental health education, and we are also providing mental health support to communities that are requesting that additional support for their community. Um, it's so important that we reach out to community and collaborate with other organizations that are really working to change the lives of the residents of their community. So I'm doing a couple of community clinics. And then we're also looking at building a PowerPoint based on new information that we know about various topics. And, we're just updating that information with research and then just finding new, innovative, creative ways to deliver services of, of counseling and psychotherapy to individuals and also to families. And we want people to stay well. And we want people to stay well by not only setting goals, but also looking at your wellness plan. There's 8 types of self care. What are those activities that you use that help you relieve stress, build resilience, in order for you to have more clarity and focus in your life, which helps you make better decisions and lead with confidence. So, wellness is so important, and I want people to be able to integrate some activity that helps them with their balance, clears their mind, and just helps them stay refreshed. It's so important when we're going through these challenges day to day.
That's fantastic. So how do people get a hold of you, Alethea?
Thank you.
And I apologize to our global listeners. Today, I don't know. It's tech lagging today. We are doing the best we
Mhm.
can. Thank you all for your patience. So, Alithia, I was bringing you in to share how our global audience, whoever is interested to reach out to you, what would be the best place to get a hold of you?
Well, hey, if people want to connect with me, they can go to my website, www.mindsIlike.ca. Take the wellness quiz and find out what strategies help you build resilience and relieve stress. There's a order form or contact form. If they're interested in doing a session with me, feel free to reach out. I do have interns until April. So if you want to take some opportunity to connect with a therapist that's already experienced, but they're just completing their hours for their licensing, you can have access to having a therapist for free. And also anger management, which we're going to be running a 6-week program. If you're interested in doing that, and also on the weekend. This weekend it's International Women's Day weekend, so I'll be speaking at a couple of events, and then have a relaxing day where I'm not going to be doing too much. But if you want to get that information in terms of where I'm going to be, just check my website, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Alithia. Wow, I'm just very, very honored you're able to share your time and your expertise and your experience and your presence here with us, right here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. To our global listeners, if you're not following us yet, please go to Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Do follow and just send a like,
Hmm.
put a like to any of our videos. The Gems of Life show comes to you every Monday at 7 p.m. But we also replay. So if you missed today and maybe you came in halfway through the show, do check in on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. We do have a replay. But I also want to invite to our Love Bay, Mississauga, Toronto area. In Ontario, if you're in Hamilton, I'm sure you can drive to Toronto for the event. So this is the March 8th International Women's Day. Okay, do come because I will be there, and it will be a great opportunity to meet. So it's March 8th. It's going to be at the Banquet Hall, Woodbine Banquet Hall in Toronto. It starts at 4 p.m. this coming Saturday. You can get your tickets. I'm going to give you an email where you can actually connect and send in messages or get your ticket by sending the email. It's Maarifa. I'll spell that for you: MAARIFAEMPOWER @gmail.com. It's maarifaempower@gmail.com. If you didn't get your tickets, do come in. The dress theme, it's the Women's International theme. It's purple and green and white. So either of those colors, you can put it on. Put on your purple, put on your green or white, or mix it all up. Okay, that's the theme for this year's International Women's Day. There's going to be amazing speakers and panelists there as well, and myself included. So if you didn't get your ticket, do come. I will be there, and I'll be bringing my copies of my books as well. So it'll be a good excuse for you to get your copy as well as meet the other phenomenal women. So thank you all for tuning in the Gems of Life show every Monday at 7 p.m. Please go in and subscribe to the Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio if you haven't. Subscribe to the Gems of Life show if you have not yet. And follow me on social media, Fadhwa_Yusuf on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and Facebook as well. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Ramadan Mubarak to all my Muslim communities fasting across the globe. And we'll see you next week. Enjoy your evening, everyone, morning, afternoon, and take care and be well. Thank you to our guest, Alethia, again. We truly appreciate your presence today. Bye-bye.